This episode of the Jiu-Jitsu Times podcast is brought to you in part by No Judges Needed BJJ Apparel and Lavender Lane CBD products. You can use the promo code JJT for 20% off your first order at No Judges Needed, and the code JJTimes20, all uppercase. Last two items are numerical for 20% off your first order of CBD products. Thank you very much for sticking with us. Enjoy the show. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the 50th episode of the Jiu-Jitsu Times podcast. I am your host, Kevin Bradley, joined as always by my co-host, Mr. Kevin Gallagher. And today we have the guest of guests, the king in the ring, the head honcho of the Jiu-Jitsu Times itself. For the 50th episode, we thought we'd go inside the organization, straight to the top, to meet the man who put this all together, the reason we are all here today talking to you, yelling at you, berating you with the latest jiu-jitsu news and MMA news. We have photographer, journalist, business owner, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, an all-around phenomenal guy, the founder of the Jiu-Jitsu Times, Kitt Canaria. Kitt, thank you so much for sharing your time with us today. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I've been wanting to be on the podcast, but you guys are not inviting me.
Well, kid, I would just like to say you are the boss. You can come on whenever you could just interrupt us whenever you see a podcast. So just clip it, and we'll just.
That is a flagrant lie, because we've invited you and Avery a bunch of times, and you're like, "Oh man, no. Like, how about you get a few more listeners, and then we can come on."
This kid is, for those of you that don't know, is renowned as a recluse. Does not like to speak to people. Does not like to spotlight, loves to stay behind the scenes. In actuality, I met him once at an EBI a few years ago when I first started writing for the Jiu-Jitsu Times. And this is probably the second time in the 4 or 5 years of our relationship that I've actually had a face-to-face conversation with him in a virtual way. But Kitt is an awesome dude, and he's the reason why we're all here. So give it up for Kitt.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Now, as we are all journalists, we will definitely dedicate a little bit of time today to talk about some of the current events going on in jiu-jitsu, because, as things keep opening up across the country, across the world, we're seeing more jiu-jitsu specific news and MMA news. More events are being held. But as it's the 50th episode, the big 5-0, we thought it would be cool to sort of take a look back at how the Jiu-Jitsu Times came to be, some of the origin stories, some behind-the-scenes info. And so I thought it would be cool to sort of kick things off with, how did the Jiu-Jitsu Times get started, Kitt? Like, what made it happen?
Well, the Jiu-Jitsu Times I started with, it was Jiu-Jitsu Olympics. I was trying to campaign Jiu-Jitsu to be in the Olympics. But I was running it for a year, and then Team USA contacted me that I can't use Olympics and I can't put Jiu-Jitsu Olympics in a sentence. I'm like, what? Because it's going to confuse people. So they gave me like 2 months to change the name to whatever I want. And this is the best name I can come up with. But yeah, it was a year of trying to build up and trying to campaign jiu-jitsu into Olympics. But it didn't work, but I got a new name, and here we are right now.
What year was that? Was that right before the Rio Olympics, or was that a little before?
Probably 2012 or 13.
Wow, that's a long time ago. That kind of predates. Really,
yeah.
Like you guys are really digging deep to find jiu-jitsu news at that point.
Yeah, it was hard, and there was not much tournaments, so
right.
It was just trying to campaign jiu-jitsu, but they were like on it. They have this guy emailing me, telling me I need to change the name within 2 months. And I was like, okay, I'm not gonna fight it, because we don't even have the money to fight that.
Did you do that by yourself? Did you come up with that idea by yourself? The idea, or was it something that was like a group of people? Were you just like some dude that said, "Hey, man, I want to help jiu-jitsu get into the Olympics"? So
No,
you set up a jiu-jitsu page and
I just
a
came
Facebook
up
page.
well myself because I'm a web developer and I have a different websites, and I thought about it and I think about what if I try to campaign jiu-jitsu into Olympics, and I'm doing jiu-jitsu. Maybe that time I was a blue belt, something like that, blue belt, purple belt. But I was gonna say I was gonna campaign jiu-jitsu and try to be on the Olympics, but yeah, they stopped me.
So, was it strictly a Facebook app at that time, or did you do it? Was it like something else?
It's a Facebook, but I also have a website because I do build websites. So I did have a website first before I even build the Facebook, and then I build Instagram.
That's funny.
The Instagram definitely has some fire content. So all of you out there that are not yet following us on Instagram, go run and do that.
Well, the thing is, I've been neglecting Instagram for like years. So I'm like, okay, why am I doing that? Right now, it's like, why did I neglect Instagram for like how many years, where I should have been promoting there?
Oh, Instagram is everything now. I don't like it's funny that Facebook is almost just like what like the old people do now. It's not even like people. You ask like a 20-something about Facebook, and they just look at you like, oh, I don't.
But Facebook owns Instagram.
It is definitely, you can't ignore either one. But I will say that I think the person-to-person interaction on Instagram has been great. That's how we've gotten a lot of our interviews on the show, and we've talked about that like behind the scenes. But for some reason, people just seem to open up more on Instagram, like through DMs, which is really cool.
It's easier to manage, easier to reply. But it's easier too in Facebook, but there's a lot of message. It gets buried far, far away, and you can't even see them. Like I have a lot of messages on Facebook that I haven't seen it yet.
Right.
So probably that's what happens. But in Instagram, you're gonna see like more of like if they separate it.
It's funny you say that every time I've ever messaged you on Facebook, I always feel so excited when you message me back because I know you're busy, and it's like, oh Jesus, this Kevin, I know I could be a little nuts sometimes. Like, what does Kevin want this time? And when you message me back, I always feel so like, oh wow, man, Kitt actually responded back to me.
I always tell everybody like if I don't reply, you can just message me like 10 times a day, because sometimes I'll see it. If I'm driving, then I'm not going to reply. And then if I'm doing something, then once I go back to my computer, then you message me that the same exact time, then I would reply right away.
Right. Well, go ahead, Kevin.
I always felt like it must be so annoying for you because everyone on staff is always trying to get in touch with you, and you have to deal with like so many different time zones. Like me and Kev G are on the East Coast. Avery is in Australia, so they're like getting everybody on the same page can sometimes be a little bit of a hassle, and you got to make sure that happens. Like, does that get annoying?
I'm not getting annoyed, but probably you guys get annoyed because I don't reply fast. Because once I see it, sometimes I see it, but I'm doing something, then I'm going to reply later because I'm not going to have the right answer now for you. So I have to go back to my computer, think about it, and then reply.
Oh, that's funny. So at what point did you decide to break away from the jiu-jitsu and the Olympics approach and move in towards writing articles or whatever the Jiu-Jitsu Times became after that?
Well, there at that time there was not much news website, blogs. So I said I have different websites too. Like I have before I had a recipe website that I sold, but it's like a huge website. So
A recipe website.
Laugh,
hey.
motherfucker. You probably made about 3 million off of that thing.
Hey, no, I'm not. Hey, look, I'm
teaching
a
people how
guy.
to make like
Look,
biscuits and gravy and shit.
I am obsessed with like the Great British Bake Off, like diners, drive-ins, and dives. Give me some kind of food content. I'm there. I get it. The money's there.
I sold it because I needed to buy a house. Now I have a house because I was having a kid. So I was building website. I was building blogs. So why not? I'm doing jiu-jitsu. Why not make a jiu-jitsu website?
Well, what other, like, just to get a better idea of the environment when you decided to pivot into news, like, what other big names were out there doing the type of content that you wanted to do? Like, I know there was like Gracie Mag. There's like martial arts periodicals have been around for a while. You know, you've got things like Black Belt Magazine, Gracie Mag, like a bunch of places.
It's mostly the hard copy magazine.
Yeah, like physical print ads, but like
that time it was like most of that. Like
I mean, that was 2012. That almost predated like extensive YouTube stuff, I guess you could say. I can't. My mind doesn't work.
I think Kurt Osiander was doing a lot of the move of the week stuff, but like I can't really recall anything.
No, there's not much YouTube channels.
Yeah.
That was a new thing. It was just kind of. This was kind of in the beginning. It's interesting because it was kind of in the beginning stages of two particular platforms. Like the point where jiu-jitsu started to become a little more of a mainstream household name was right around that time, right around the UFC started getting major exposure. You could start to see jiu-jitsu gyms starting to grow away from just like the few crazy people, kind of like more mainstream.
Before all the events.
Right, exactly. But it was also a time when these website / Facebook, multimedia, whatever type platforms were starting to create sites for blog posts and writers and things.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool, man. So you kind of capitalize on both of those. How hard was it in the beginning for you to find contributors? What did you do to start finding contributors? How did you work this?
How did I did? I just posted on Facebook, like on my personal Facebook, like any friend of mine that wants to write blogs for me. And some message me and some recommend people to me. So that's how I got more people to write for Jiu-Jitsu Times.
Right.
But it was not a lot of people because it's really hard to get content like ideas back then because it's like there's no events, there's nothing.
Right. You got a lot of like what the belts mean in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Like, I'm an old man grappler. How do I, there's no like coverage of maybe a UFC fight here and there or like the Worlds or something like that. But people really didn't even care much about that at that point. That was
those the early videos seem to all be based around like challenge matches. Like I know the Gracie challenge matches.
The thing is that started with the when I was starting Jiu-Jitsu Olympics, and I was just always on my phone, like at nighttime. I was like on my phone watching these videos, and like, why don't I repost these videos?
That's funny, yeah. That's funny. It's something to be said too, man. Like if you have enough hustle and you put your things together and you put them in line, like you start off small and you build a little bit here, you build a little bit there. I think the Jiu-Jitsu Times was just the one that kind of pioneered that idea for a jiu-jitsu page, to get all the things together, all the things in line to make it happen.
Yep.
Real quick, I just wanted to say that the idea of just like finding content, reposting, like you saw a lot of websites like that in terms of like comedy and like funny YouTube or funny websites that would just, their whole thing was just scouring the internet for funny content, funny videos to laugh at and sort of aggregate them into one location for everything. Like, it sounds like that's where jiu-jitsu, like your interest in jiu-jitsu content started, was just like wrangling up all of these like scattered content everywhere and giving people.
The thing is, like, I'm not really looking for it. It's like, at those times, that's the one that I wanted to watch.
Right.
And it's like easier for me to look for it because I see them. Oh, this is like jiu-jitsu, and that this guy is like doing something about jiu-jitsu. So that's my interest when I started this.
That's funny too, man. Like when I hear that guy Gary V, you know Gary V, the guy from Instagram, everybody knows who Gary V is.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I know.
Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yeah. One of the things, and again, I take some of the things he says with a grain of salt because I'm also kind of like, as much as I hate that instant gratification Instagram star world thing, I'm also kind of allured by it. So I listen to it and what he says and stuff. But he always talks about the idea of, content, don't overthink content. Just do what you love. Put the things out that you like. Put the things out there you enjoy, because this is your page, and like your passion for what you show and what you enjoy will show out. So don't try to like please don't try to please your viewers. Like just please yourself, and it carries.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And a lot of people like telling me, "Do you even read comments?" I said, "No, I never read comments."
That's funny, man. That's funny, dude.
That's why, like, a lot of people, if you start in this, and people's gonna talk a lot of shit, and if you read those comments, maybe 90% of the time you'll quit.
Right.
So
that's funny, dude. Yeah, it's always people that are pissed off because they're not fucking successful, and they just want to fucking piss and moan about everything.
I mean, I remember very vividly the first time I was covering a UFC card for the Jiu-Jitsu Times, and I did my job and I posted the article real fast, and then a bunch of people on Facebook were just like, "Hey, asshole, spoilers," and I'm like, "But why are you on Facebook on this news site?"
Right,
if you don't want to find out the news.
Fucking Jiu-Jitsu Times, we're telling the news. If you turned ESPN on and you didn't want to know what the fucking football score is, you shouldn't have turned ESPN on, right?
Well, yeah, there is going to be those people like, man, like, for me, like, I always tell people I don't read comments. So if you're going to try to message me, you can DM me, but don't try to talk to me and comment, because I'm never reading comments.
That's funny, man. I guess it kind of goes to the saying that, like, everything you do in the beginning you're gonna be shitty at, you know what I mean? You got to, like, in the beginning stages you got to get better, and if you think about all the times people say how bad you are at something, you start to believe it, and you don't think about how you're going to get better. It's going to keep improving. And anyway,
well, it's like if you just do your thing, and you're just gonna keep getting better. The only thing that I listen to is like, if they criticize it with it's a good criticize. Like, they're not just hating on you, then I'll look at it and listen to it. But if it's just like pure hate, you didn't even look at the website. You're just saying some stuff.
Yeah, most of the time they don't even read the articles. They just see the headline.
Most of the time they don't even read the article. When I see that, I don't
look at the picture. This sucks. Did you even look at it and read anything? That's funny, man.
I mean, I remember people getting mad at us because we showed one of the images we picked for, like, I think Fabricio Verdum, one of his last fights. I forget who he was facing, but he had someone wrapped up on the ground, like it was one of the ground exchanges of the match, and then but like he ended up losing, and everyone was like,
think he lost.
Yeah, why are you showing this picture? It's misleading. I'm like, dude, what are you even talking about?
we needed a picture. This is the best one.
Yeah, that's the best one I could get from that fight. So,
yeah, it's funny. The UFC isn't exactly handing out high quality glossy pictures of their fights anywhere, so you just gotta get what you can get. That's cool, man.
That's actually something I would love to know more about, just to take it back even further. Is that you started the JJT, but how did you find yourself involved with martial arts as a whole? Like, how did your jiu-jitsu journey start?
He's Asian. They start doing it at like
wow.
Like you just come out like kicking and chopping. And my bad.
Kevin,
that was too bad. I'm sorry, kid.
Not only is that not cool, this is our boss.
I know, man.
This is our boss.
He's in California too, man. They ain't ready for this out there, man. I can already feel the hate meal growing. I apologize to the Asian American community for this off-color statement.
Eyes out of my skull.
Please don't fire me. I really like this.
Everyone, welcome to 50th episode of Kevin Gallagher's last appearance.
Sorry, man.
What happened? What happened? I started when I uh around. Well, it was not. Yeah, I was still young, but not really young. Like not like my kid young. But I was like in I was in LA, and I was getting into a lot of like a little bit of fights because I used to live in LA, like in LA City. Like I'm
Right.
getting a little bit uh fight with somebody, and I was like, I asked my friend, where can I learn martial arts or something? And
Right.
he told me like, you should learn jiu-jitsu. You should watch UFC. Like, what is that? And he showed me this clip. It's BJ Penn versus George St. Pierre. Like, yeah, they're doing jiu-jitsu. I was like, oh, this is cool. And then I told him, okay, I'll try it out, but I'm not gonna be like. But yeah, I was young. I was like, okay, if somebody fight me, I want to fight back. so, so I started doing jiu-jitsu because of that. Like, I was like somebody was trying to get at me. So I was maybe I would try to defend myself.
Did you where did you start training at? Because I know you got your black belt from
I started
Barral,
at,
right?
yeah, I started at Crown Gracie for like maybe 6 months,
Oh,
Oh wow.
and then I moved to Gracie Bar, Glendale, because I moved to Glendale from LA. I moved to Glendale, and then from there, I moved to Northridge and started training with Hummel Ball.
Wow, that's pretty cool, man. That's equally cool just to think about because when I go to California a lot too, or not a lot, but when I go out to California, I'm always amazed at how many ridiculously high level jujitsu schools there are on that coastline up and up and down the entire coast of California, from San Diego up to freaking California.
Well,
Like
there's a
that
lot of
was like
school now.
yeah,
Like even here in my area, before there's no jiu-jitsu school. Now it's like
yeah.
100.
But even at the time when you started training, I mean, yeah, like
When I
Chrome
started
Gracie,
training, there
yeah,
is still there
the
is a
gyms
lot.
that were open were all world class.
what like
instructors,
real quick, Kit? Like, do you remember about what year, like what time period, you started training? Like
Around 2010.
2010. All right.
Yeah,
Okay,
like
that's cool.
around
That's
those
way
times.
back.
Like, so my first month of training, I was like, okay, now I want to do this. I want to compete. Then I started competing at my first month, and it's like double elimination. This tournament is double elimination. It's like I got beat up so bad because it was like my first month. I was like jumping in. I was like, okay, I'm going to try this. Then that's how it started.
That's cool, man. That's cool, man.
I forgot about, man, I want to do this because I want to fight this guy. But yeah, it was like, man, I was young, like, like when you live in a place where there's a lot of fights, you'd be like, okay, I want to defend myself on those fights. But right now it's like, man, I forgot about all the stuff. Move into a different place, move into a better place. Now I moved in here to a better place for my son, so it's a good place.
So that's
Aw.
cool, man. I just want to ask one more question, then we can get into some current topics if you want to, Kev. I don't know. I was going to ask this after, but it
Yeah,
kind
go
of
for
ties
it,
into
yeah.
what we're talking about right now. So, like you come from, like your initial desire to start doing jiu-jitsu was for self-defense, and
Yeah.
you started training in 2010, like you
Mhm.
said, before competitive jiu-jitsu and professional jiu-jitsu was even like a blip on the thought process. So you came up in a jiu-jitsu format that was a little more classical approach to the style of jiu-jitsu than what we see now in the world. And I'm just curious because you also have a specific connection whereupon you actually write and cover jiu-jitsu, so you understand it from a journalistic point of view. Like, what do you think about how jiu-jitsu has changed over the course of professional tournament competitive jiu-jitsu versus what you feel like more traditional self-defense jiu-jitsu? You think it's hurt it, changed it? You think anything is different because of it?
Uh, it didn't hurt. Of course, it actually give it drive more people to train jiu-jitsu, there's still going to be that self-defense. Some schools still like offer self-defense stuff like courses and classes, but there's going to be a lot more people doing the sports now.
Right.
From what they see, it's like, okay, this is becoming a sport, martial arts. It's not like
I think about that a lot because I have a lot of guys that have been involved in jiu-jitsu for a long time, and I'm always curious to see what they feel about that. Like, well, are you really doing self-defense jiu-jitsu anymore? Have we bridged that gap? Is it really the same? I kind of agree with you. I think any jiu-jitsu is better than
it brings a lot more people to do jiu-jitsu, but there's not much self-defense. Yeah. It's more of a sports now.
But the point is that sport jiu-jitsu, granted you're not learning how to disarm someone and you're not working on, some of the proper, more nuanced approaches to self-defense jiu-jitsu, but you probably weren't training that much of that shit either. It was just a different style, more control. Now we kind of like.
But I think like even if you learn the sports jiu-jitsu, you can still defend yourself pretty good.
100%.
Like you are not, purple belt who learned a lot of sports jiu-jitsu, you're not going to beat him up.
Right, exactly.
He's going to beat you up.
It's still like having a superpower. It is. Exactly.
Although I am still waiting for the bully beatdown video, the video of like one of those bully versus gets owned by jiu-jitsu videos where he just gets baramboloed like that, like where we've seen enough of like super basic jiu-jitsu being used in self-defense. I want to see the real crunchy, like out there stuff.
Well, there's that one with the guy on the basketball court where he catches him in a heel hook.
Yeah,
kind of lame. You'll never play ball again. It was a whole weird like.
What sucks with him is he had the back and he fucked it up. Like he lost control because he was trying to hit.
Pulling him off. I think people are pulling him off because he was trying to choke the other guy, and the other like normal people like doesn't know what's happening, and these guys killing this guy.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. That's what I always say too. You choke somebody, they just wait. They just go to sleep for it. You're not going to kill it. It takes a long time to kill somebody with a choke. Yeah.
I am so glad that we all watch so much jiu-jitsu street fight videos that we all know exactly the video that we're talking about. Like, oh yeah, the one on the basketball
been around for a long time. That one's been on for
those are the times that I really want to watch those kind of videos. So I was like, man, I'm just gonna like I framed this video and put it on the website and stuff like that.
I mean, like that was my jiu-jitsu origin story. This will be the last time I talk about it, I swear. But if someone had their phone out, it would. No, yeah, I'm a braggart.
It's the same way I'm going to tell my story. I got my
you talk. Story. Hey, Kev G, you talk about your 3 medals. I'll talk about this. All right. It was, I was at cross country practice and some guy tried to kidnap me, and like my coach was a purple. Yeah, no, so there was this guy on the football team that for some reason we were part of this like dumb game where you had to tag people at certain points, and he wanted to, but you couldn't do it on school grounds. So he wanted to throw me in his car and do it off school property. So he had his trunk open, and I was like 130 pounds at the time, and he was like 220. So he just ripped me up and like started dragging me across the ground, and I was just like kicking and screaming, and no one was helping me out. But my cross country coach was a purple belt at the time. And so he just like running man, like Tom Cruise bolts right over to this guy, jumps on his back, sinks in like the rear naked choke, and just his face turns purple because the squeeze is just immediate, and he drops the kid to the ground. And the kid almost passes out, but he just like, he lets him go. And the kid's like, oh, he calls us a bunch of mean names and he storms off. And I get up and I go, Ed, you saved me. Thank you so much. And then he grabs me and he goes, please tell me he was 18. I can't afford a lawsuit. And I'm like, yeah, he's 18. And he's like, oh, thank God. And then he's like, all right, guys, we gotta run practice. And then we just ended up running, and it was I'm bummed because that would have been the perfect like jiu-jitsu street fight video. Like it's over in a second. It's just
someone should have been videotaping that.
Oh yeah, so many people screwed up, and everyone there had a phone, so there's no excuse.
When was this?
Oh, this was like I was in high school. I think I was a sophomore. So this was like almost 10 years ago.
Okay.
Like, yeah, and it took me, I was so like busy with stuff. It took me a while to get started on jiu-jitsu, but after that day, I promised myself that I would eventually start. And then my junior year of college is when I finally started training seriously. I had tried it a few times and I was training a lot and I never stopped. So then here we are now. So that was like I'm 4 years in. I think I'm about 4 years into jiu-jitsu, and I'm beat up, and I have a lot of image issues, and I'm scared all the time.
You'll get there. You'll get there, young one.
You're a purple belt now, right?
No, I'm a 2-stripe blue belt because
two-stripe. He's got 2 stripes, kid.
If you ask, there's 2. It's like the way
he's like a kid. Like I'm 4.5.
Yeah, no, I was just about to be like, it's the same way you talk about your age. I'm like, I'm 9 3/4. All right, I'm not just 9.
I'm a 5. I'm a 4.5.
Yeah.
Anyway,
like,
so
in shoes, I'm 6 foot. In shoes.
what do you got for current events for us there, Mr. Kev? Let's freaking
okay.
let's
Let me
talk
break.
but as much as we'd like to revisit your story of self-awareness. There we go.
All right. I figured it would be a really appropriate topic to begin with. Let me just close out of the ads here. Because one of the first videos we had that went that got really big was talking about the Black Beast himself, Derrick Lewis, and he just continues to prove that sometimes if you are like big enough and bad enough, jiu-jitsu does not work on you. He'll just stand up. Because Derrick Lewis coming off of the last UFC fight night, that was incredible. His incredible knockout performance against Alexei Olenek on the ground, he looked absolutely phenomenal. And I figured we could. I don't know if Kev, if you saw it,
dude. So
Kitt, I'm sure. Yeah,
I woke up. I was laying in bed watching TV. I was doing something else, and I completely spaced and forgot the fights were on. And all of a sudden, at like 11:30, I said, "Oh man, the fights are on!" And I clicked it on, and I saw the end of the first round where Oleg had. I literally turned on. Oleg had Lewis in that kind of chest compression, catch wrestler sambo head and arm kind of thing, where you compress the whatever this hell thing is, the chest, so you can't breathe.
Yeah.
And like I'm in my mind, I'm thinking this is it, but I'm also thinking to myself, like, Derrick Lewis is just an animal. Then when he turned it over and locked out that Americana from the top again, I thought it was going to be over. I thought Olenek would figure out a way to put enough pressure on it. I was wondering if he actually hurt his arm when he did it, and luckily he got saved by the bell, because I feel like if Olenek would have had a few more seconds, he might have been able to finish it. Now, again, I didn't see the first half of that round or anything that happened before that, so I don't know what kind of hell Derrick Lewis had to go through. All I know is he knocked freaking Olenek like out. It came out with that flying knee like a freaking animal.
Yeah.
And knocked him straight out with that right hand. But anyway.
Kitt, what did you think?
I didn't see the fight because it was the same time. I think it was the same time with Third Coast. It was the same time, right?
Yeah, and we will be talking about that later.
So, but I saw the highlight, but he got out of the submission in first round. I think that's what they're talking about.
I think it was crazy because it was very similar to his last match, and his last match was again against a Sambo practitioner, like a Sambo champion, actually, if I remember correctly. And he had locked up the Americana. He was dominant on the ground, but Derrick was able to hold on and just like, it's easy to look at what he did and say, oh, he's just a big guy. He just burst out of it because he's a big dude. But I think all of us here have been doing jiu-jitsu long enough to know that you can't like always just burst out of it, especially when you're dealing with someone just as big as you. You know, they're in the same weight class. He had to pick the exact right moment to use his explosiveness. And like that speaks to a very high fight IQ that I really am loving seeing like grow and develop over all the fights he's had. And I love seeing how he's been improving against ground opponents, especially after his loss against DC, who was just ragdolling him. Because, DC is not going to want to trade and stand up with Derrick Lewis. No one wants to trade and stand up with Derrick Lewis.
I agree with you on that fact, man. That's an interesting point you made too about the fact of how his fight IQ has grown over the course of his career, and I think it has less to do with the fact of him being aware of submissional positions or submission attempts and how to get out of individual submissions, and more about him just understanding his body and learning how to move his shoulder and his arm and then create just enough space here and there so the chokes aren't completely tight enough, whereupon he waits for them to kind of readjust or whatever happens to explode through. But to be able to do that against someone as skilled as Alexei is pretty impressive, because Alexei is he's maybe honestly one of the most skilled submission grapplers in the UFC, definitely at heavyweight. So,
but he was also saved by the bell. But I just watch it right now.
Kevin made a good point. I kind of thought that too. But if you remember his last fight, the last guy had him in the same exact thing and was cranking on his arm to a position where it was like I thought for sure he was going to tap. I thought for sure his arm was going to be broke. And to Lewis's credit, he figured out a way. We won't call it great jiu-jitsu, but he figured out a way just to kind of move a little bit here and there and a little get the pressure here and there until he can figure out a way to get out of it.
And I think that deserves being spoken about at least a little bit, because something that's really evident in his career, if you've been I've been following him pretty closely just because I've been a fan of his. Like, the minute he gets on the mic, you can't help but fall in love with Derrick Lewis a little bit, just because he's one of the funniest, most authentic dudes. He's just like, yeah, I was a trucker before this, whatever, man. My balls was hot. Every single word that comes out of his mouth is there's a good chance it's going to be dynamite. But a big problem he dealt with was his gas tank, and he was very open about that, where he would just be explosive and hope for that puncher's chance. He had a lot of really solid striking, but it was
people when he was
that's true.
He was relying on that, but something that I've taken great joy in seeing is that when he gets into those bad situations on the ground, I am seeing him calm down. I'm seeing him take breaths, like not just expend energy when he's like in bottom side control, just trying to get out of it. He's waiting, and that's something that I've had to like really get hammered in by all my coaches, is that if you're being explosive and your opponent's able to stay there and not be explosive and just do nothing, then you're going to lose, because he is able to just ride you out. And seeing this guy learn to conserve his energy, I think we're going to see him take another shot at the belt. Probably. I really think we're going to see that matchup happen again. I don't know if it's going to be against DC or if he's going to go against Stipe, whoever wins that heavyweight fight. But I don't know. I'm really pumped to see him grow, and that's what
watching him progress as a complete martial artist is really something fun to watch too. I mean, like he came out there, and that's the thing. Like, Derrick Lewis kind of has this one-trick pony kind of allure to him. Like, he's just going to come out there. He's big. He's kind of out of shape. He's just going to circle around and throw that big overhand right, and that's kind of the only thing he does. And in reality, that is kind of the only thing he does. But he also has a very explicit and nuanced approach to making that happen. He's not just some mindless guy that has one big right hand that just throws it and throws it and throws it. He's doing other things. Like that little combination he came out with in the beginning of the second round to knock out Olenev with was amazing. And he threw that little jump knee, and it kind of landed, but not really. Like, first of all, Derrick Lewis threw a jump knee. You know what I'm talking about? This guy weighs 245 pounds, and he landed it, right? And then he set his feet right after he landed it and came right into that two, which was the one that really knocked out Olenev. He's really, really an impressive fighter and a thoughtful fighter, and he started to become more complete in his game. And I'll tell you, like, the thing about a one-punch knockout guy is that, you can throw one punch and that could be the only thing you do. And the guy across from you can know that's the only thing that's going to come. It's the only thing I got to worry about. That's what he's going to end me with. But throughout the course of a fight, just like we talked about earlier, when he got tired, he's been knocking people out because what happens is the other guy's tired too. And even though you know he's only going to throw that right hand, and that's the only thing he's going to throw, even when you're tired and you're hurt and maybe you just want to get this thing over with, you forget for that split second that he's throwing that right hand, and all of a sudden it's too late. He only takes one and then you're out.
That's true. Yeah.
Now I want to, because I like how he spoke about this. You know, he didn't say just like I'm getting better at grappling. He's like, I'm one of the baddest blue belts in Texas. So what I want to know from you guys is what jiu-jitsu matchups do you want to see Derrick Lewis in? Who do you think he should go against in a grappling match? I don't know if it's submission underground. I don't know if it's third coast. What, like, Gordon Ryan, Derrick Lewis? Like, where are we seeing? Where are we falling?
I think Nicky Rodriguez, Derrick Lewis is close.
Ooh, that's so fun.
That's a lot. That's a big money fight too.
That's a big money fight.
Yeah. Nicky Rod is a purple belt now though, so he doesn't fit into he officially got his purple belt, so he's not a blue belt.
How about this?
Yeah.
How about this? Nicky Rod, Derrick Lewis, but Derrick Lewis gets to he gets to throw one punch. Like he could just like one time just throw a punch at Nicky Rod.
I tell you what, man. Nicky Rod might eat that thing like a freaking like a barbecue sandwich, man. That kid's amazing. That kid is just one of the most fearsome, most like insanely freaking like barbaric human beings I've ever seen walking the face of the earth. He just looks like an animal.
Oh man, Kitt, who do you think takes that, Nicky Rod or Derrick Lewis?
I would take if it's a jiu-jitsu match, I will take Nicky Rod. Whatever rules it is, it's gonna be Nicky Rod. I don't think Derrick Lewis is gonna submit him or score a point.
No, not even close. I see Derrick Lewis lasting probably about a minute and a half. I don't know. Derrick Lewis is a gamer, but he just doesn't look like he's in.
No, but if you're going to include punches, then yeah,
yes,
it's going to be different. It's going to be a different match.
I think it's okay. How about the combat jiu-jitsu? Derrick Lewis, Nicky Rod.
Oh man, that's going to be hard.
Neither one of us is going to pull guard though, so I'm probably still Nicky Rod because freaking Derrick Lewis will go right through his butt.
Oh man, I like that he's like using the term blue belt. I like that he's going into the grappling sense, you know, and I hope he considers it just because that would be so great. The money would be astronomical there. The eyes on jiu-jitsu would be phenomenal. And I think that whenever we are able to get those crossover matches, like whenever high-level MMA people make the jump, like, you know, Austin Vanderford has been doing a lot of submission underground matches. It only helps jiu-jitsu as a whole because, you know, they might be bringing small numbers of people eyeballs, but it's better than nothing.
Yeah, they're bringing in the MMA fans.
Yeah. Are you sad, lonely, scared? Do your friends point and laugh at how bad your outside heel hooks are? Have you given up hope? Well, chin up, comrade! BJJ black belt and purveyor of fine coffee, Josh STARLORD LeDuc is here to change your life. Buy his new DVD, Quantum Braking Mechanics, with the link in the description to gain all the secrets of foot mangling and knee wrecking to destroy all who stand in your way. Now, Josh doesn't know we're sharing this, so act fast before he finds out and unmakes us with the power of his mind. Shit, that's him. Oh, he's pissed. Anyway, I gotta go, but click the link and always heel hook responsibly. All right, well, I think we briefly talked about that you couldn't catch this fight specifically because we were covering Third Coast Grappling, and I know that was a bit of a controversy. So let's move on to that. 3CG Kumite 5. Kitt, do you want to talk a little bit as to what went down?
Let me pull it up first. Hold on.
Well, I'm so out of the loop. I've been with my girl all week on. I haven't done any. She won't let me do anything.
Okay, so essentially I want to Do you want to take a minute to just?
No. Go ahead, Kev. Tell me.
So essentially, Roberto and Ty, their matchup was very close, and it was decided by a last-minute takedown. But under the 3CG rules set, people didn't think Jimenez had enough control after the takedown to be warranted the points. And so Ryan released a big statement saying the match was being changed to a no contest, but the prize money would not be redistributed. Like Jimenez gets to keep the prize money. So it's really interesting that Ryan went ahead and rectified what was considered to be a mistake by a lot of people, because a lot of times these sorts of things are set in stone. Gonna go ahead and talk about the any number of controversial finishes in MMA. Those don't really ever get overturned very frequently. A lot of times it's just you got to deal with it. But this one was very immediate, the reaction. So,
but the thing is, Ryan just released a statement today that they made the right call. The referee made the right call of giving Jimenez the takedown.
Well, yeah, it was. I think he was more talking to the fact that it was under the rule set. It was the takedown plus the control time. But I'm not. I think. When did he release the statement?
Today. I think he did today.
Oh,
I might not have seen that. It's like this is one of those breaking stories.
Yeah, I just read. I'm just reading through it now. I whatever. I have a lot of experience with shit like this in a bunch of different formats.
You've been a ref, so you're used to having scrutiny.
Well, I didn't watch the event yet, and I'm gonna go watch it now just because I just didn't get around to it this weekend, and I didn't realize it was this crazy. But kind of what I am gathering from this is it was overtime, first points to score, wins. Jimenez shot a takedown in, held what's his name, Rommel on the ground long enough to what the referee then considered to be sustainable for a takedown. Now that's the big issue there. That's kind of the gray area is the sustainable for a takedown, because what they consider to be sustainable for a takedown in IBJJF is way different than what they consider to be sustainable for a takedown in the ADCC. And then there's other levels that are kind of gray area in that realm that kind of make up the changes. And the problem with that is that that's called a ref's discretion decision. You follow me? So the only person that's responsible for making that call it's not like the ref puts his watch out and goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and counts out what it is. It's just in his mind what about he believes to be that period of time. So he gives the point and rewards the points for the takedown. So the problem is if the referee said it was a takedown, it's very difficult for me now to have a promoter go back and take that stand against his guy and say, look, man, we made a mistake. We're cool with that. Because technically, it's not really his call to be able to say that. He should back up his people. Things happen. The referee made the call. That's the call that was made. It's going to stay that way. I don't know, man. I'm not trying to say bad things about Ryan, but I've just seen this so many times in grappling. Is it annoying? Yeah, it's annoying. But what it means is you have to figure out ways to get refs on the right page to make sure that they're doing the scoring correctly. Because it happened in that last event too, the Jiu-Jitsu King event. I'll shut up in a second. But, because there's so many different ways to score events, there's so many different interpretations of what a takedown is. And yeah, you do a pretty good job in the beginning of your event to say that, but referees get confused and referees don't really understand that. And you have to make sure that, guys that have done IBJJF tournaments for so long that now come over to do a different format, it's just already ingrained into their mind when they see a takedown to just go, okay, cool. Those are the points, because that's just what they recognize as the predetermined time to be controlled. That's where the whole different formats and different rule sets for jiu-jitsu across the board just kind of falls to shit. Sorry, I talked a whole lot.
Okay, I have a bit more of the statement that Ryan released, and he released it after we did this story. So I just want to read that very briefly, so as to give him the benefit of the doubt. We are always open and transparent about things because I think that's the way to be. Our referee staff made the right call, awarding the 2 points and the win to Roberto per the rules they were operating under and understood. It was discussed in the rules meeting at the event, the exact scenario. Saying that though our staff and the referees weren't on the same page on the rule change being formally introduced. I believe Gordon and Ryan asked this question in the last rules meeting, and they clarified it that yes, if a takedown happens and is defended and the submission clears its points, no matter if there was 3 seconds of control or not. So as I said, we just need to get our shit together and get on the same page. Just been a crazy few months, and we apologize for the mix-up.
I have to watch the event because it seems pretty clear that's probably exactly what happened at Jiu-Jitsu. And that's just a silly rule. So what happened, Kitt?
Yeah. Jimenez went for the takedown. Tai went for the guillotine to defend.
Right.
And for IBJJF, that's not a takedown yet.
Right.
And if you let go of the guillotine, you need 3 seconds to get the points. But Ryan said at their event, if Tai lets go of the guillotine, then that's a point.
Automatically the points at that point, right?
If that's the rule, then Jimenez got the point.
Yeah, see, that's confusing, man. And again, I'm thinking of this less in terms of like what actually happened and more in terms of like people just constantly trying to figure out ways to come up with a more exciting format that they just make shit so freaking confusing that like shit like this starts to happen. You know what I'm talking about? Like these guys, like Marmelo has trained for a long, long time, and he trains at Atos, and I know they train for ADCC out there, and I know they train for points matches out there, and I know they understand the idea of points matches, and they've been doing it for a long time. So I guarantee you that one of his strategical approaches to a takedown defense is exactly what he did: pull for a guillotine. You know what I mean? Maybe you don't finish the guillotine, but the guy on top has to adjust his position long enough because he has to fight the hands, whereupon as he starts to break the guillotine away, he's not holding on my hips anymore, and I could pop back up again and either get an advantage, and I'll get an advantage for the submission attempt, or no points scored like it would be in an ACC match. So, like, that's where, like, these promoters just, they have to kind of think about these things. And I get it. Yeah, that's the rules, but you're going to lead to shit like this happening because you're making such a dumb, ridiculous rule that's just so like, I mean, what the fuck? Like, what is this shit? What else are we gonna do now? Like, we can't touch hands. Like, what, you know what I'm talking about? Like, what random thing are you gonna come up with that's gonna be different to try to improve the matches? But, sorry, I'm talking a lot too. Can I apologize? I promised I wasn't gonna talk over you. I promise I was gonna make myself not do that. What do you think about that, man? What do you think about silly rules and stuff like that? Like, what you know, I get the idea of what promoters are trying to do, but can you understand how that kind of leads to these confusing scenarios? Because this is the second or third time I've seen this happen in a match.
Well, there is too many rules, so the competitors are getting confused.
Right.
And most of them are used to the IBJJF rules of if we are running by IBJJF rules, then Jimenez is not going to get a point from that takedown. So it's kind of like it's hard to keep changing the rules.
Yeah. I it's funny. I'm actually working. I may or may not be working on an article about this as we speak, by the way. But like, it's one of the things that I find the most troubling about professional jiu-jitsu right now is how it stands. Is that it seems like all the promotions, rather than working together to try to make something better, are focusing so hard on trying to get one step above the other to make things better for their own shows win out, that they're making things so like crazy that they're just pissing off more and more people. But again, like, there's also the promoter out there that'll say, well, now, man, because chaos and headlines, like, now people are going to turn back in to see more. You know what I'm talking? Well, now this is what you want. You want this controversy because people pay to see that shit. I don't know. The purist in me just hates that idea. I wish these guys would work together and figure out a way to come up with something consistent that we don't keep fucking, or at least something not that crazy of a change. But I think that's the big problem. Sorry again, Kitt. What do you think, Kitt? Say something, Kitt, so I don't feel like an asshole.
I think I've said.
You did, bro. Cool, man. Well, Fig, I'm gonna have to watch this now. I'm gonna go back and watch a couple of these matches, but I can guarantee you that's 100% what happened. Like, and it's sad. It's really sad too because these guys are both kids. But first, like, other than that, like, talk about like how amazing, like, the new crop of jiu-jitsu athletes are going to be. Like these young guns, like Jimenez and the Twins and John Combs and guys like some of the other guys from that Jits King. Like, these guys are like the future of jiu-jitsu. It's that hybrid jiu-jitsu competitor that isn't just a positional points guy.
All right,
it isn't just a submission only guy.
Kev, I'm gonna just truncate everything. Hey, Kitt, the new generation of jiu-jitsu athletes. What do you think?
The new generation.
Yeah.
Dude, they are pretty good. And these new guys are just a different breed now. What do you think?
I think when I was talking with Mona Bailey, shout out Bald Strong MMA or Bald Strong BJJ. I'm sorry, I'll link the correct one down below. But we had her on a few episodes ago, and seeing this new crop of jiu-jiteros just being raised in America specifically, who have all the advantages of the bleeding edge of jiu-jitsu, different levels of, physical fitness and nutrition and all this new knowledge that we have in terms of physical rehab, training correctly. We're always learning more and adding to our knowledge base. And I think that as jiu-jitsu continues to grow in America, we're only going to see more innovations made in training, because the game is so young that it is very far away from being solved. Like, there is not a direct formula for how to make the perfect jiu-jitsu athlete other than what we know now. And we don't know what new styles are going to develop, what new things are going to be discovered. And I think that we're starting to see things take shape in those young guys. Like when Bailey faced Nat Santoro, that's a teenager facing a grown woman. Her guard still looked impassable, and she was able to defend the leg locks. She had like that Estima lock that she got out of. And you're seeing that even like with the Twins and Nicky Ryan, and Nick Rodriguez. Nick Rodriguez has been training for like 2 days compared to everybody he's rolling against. And he's only like 21 or 20. I'm just excited as someone that's, in the media side of things. I'm excited to be able to follow all of these emerging careers and being able to document them, and through this show be able to talk to them. Like, that's really what I'm excited about.
Yeah,
All
man.
right.
These guys are getting better, man. Like they're training from a very young age. They're all starting on. We're starting to see these hybrid grapplers that start training, in their young teens up until, they're getting their black belts at 20. They've already been training for 10 years. And in that age when everything is learned at such an accelerated rate, things just become a part of who you are. And they're training in the modern styles of jiu-jitsu. So it's a common. I used to see up until recently guys that were either points guys or guys that were submission only guys or guys that were gi guys that were no gi guys. You're seeing these guys that are just complete grapplers. Like the style now that these young guys do, it has an understanding of points awareness, but there's also such high submission drops that it's fun to watch and exciting to watch. And it's cool to see these youngins start coming up like that, man. I'm excited about it. Dope, man.
So we just talked about some real fun stuff. How about we talk about something annoying? Yeah, you know what time it is. It's time to talk about AJ, everyone's favorite jiu-jitsu athlete. I promised I wasn't going to be mean. And there's actually a pleasant update to this story, but I just wanted to see how we all felt about his most recent match at Bellator.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. It was like it was he got the mount position, he got the back control, but he couldn't finish those positions. Um, yeah, and then after that he did a headbutt and I think two up kicks after the bell. So it was like, yeah, it was like it's pretty bad.
I forgot about that headbutt. They kept talking about it and they were trying to be like, well, was it? And then one of the announcers was finally like, dude, that was a headbutt. Like he totally he put like it wasn't, he put his head down and like clanked it forehead down right in that guy's face, man. That was
I had to rewatch that because he said it wasn't intentional, but when you rewatch it, it looks intentional.
Sure, looked pretty intentional from the outside. I think the folks at home might disagree with you a little bit there on that one, AJ.
I was like trying to give him like a little bit more of, okay, I need to rewatch what really happened, but when you rewatch it and then it's more clear that, man, he did everything on purpose.
Yeah, he kind of has that reputation.
Yeah, like I always say, AJ's not a bad person. It's just sometimes maybe in the fight it gets into him,
right?
You know, like
then after the fight, he told he flipped the guy off or something like that. I kind of saw a little bit of it. Didn't he? When they went to bring him in the middle to shake hands,
Mike Beltran had to basically like pull him, like jerk him towards the middle like a child who was throwing a tantrum in order to get him to shake hands with his opponent.
That's a little rough, man.
And it was not good. I also don't get why Beltran was trying to trying to make that happen. I feel like he could have just not did that.
Yeah, he could just let it go.
Yeah, like he's not trying to be a good sport right now, but it's not your job to make him be a good sport. It felt like Mike Beltran was his dad, and it's like, no, you're going to be a good sport about this.
Well, son? that's debatable because I will tell you that there are some sports commissions that will tell you that you're liable for disqualification. Your character and disqualification doesn't end until you leave the fucking ring. You know what I'm talking about? So like while you're in there, post fight, even after you won, if you pull some bullshit, and you go flick the guy off, you take another swat at somebody else, you're supposed to be at least have your purse suspended, and they can overturn some wins and things like that based upon that via disqualification. So like what's his name has the ref has a little say and a little responsibility to make sure things go right.
Oh, well, that was something I didn't consider. So that could be where he was coming from. I'm not familiar with like where this fight took place. I don't know under what commission, but that is a interesting idea.
I think it's California actually, because the guy with the mustache was reffing. He does California matches.
Yeah, Beltran.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, the wall. I met him once.
Oh, you did?
I met him once. It was actually the first jiu-jitsu event I ever went to, Metamoris 3. Eddie Bravo Gracie, the rematch. And I just remember, I didn't know who he was. I just thought that man has the greatest stash in the world, and I'm gonna get a picture with him. And I did. I had no idea who he was. I'm just like, I need to get proof that I met this human.
Yeah,
this wonder.
I don't agree with that whatsoever. What AJ did, man. Like I always say that's one of the most despicable things. I don't care what happens to push a fight on or to promote a fight. Like in the fight, you shake hands with your opponent, you tell him good job, win, lose, or draw. Like you guys just went to war with each other. I hate that shit. It makes me fucking crazy.
He actually apologized today.
Yeah, I was.
He did apologize.
I was going to shift over because there was an update to this story, and I don't want to trash him too hard because he did make a statement on Instagram that we reposted here on the Jiu-Jitsu Times Instagram. Go follow it. But upon rewatching the fight, it seems that he is now aware that he was in the wrong, and he's sorry. He's gonna go back to the drawing board and train. And that I think that if you're gonna rag on a guy for messing up, you got to equally acknowledge when he apologizes. And so like, good on you, AJ. That's really good of you. But yeah, no, you gotta.
Yes, exactly. Apology accepted, but come on, bro. You got
just
gotta be
like
better than that. I know AJ too. Like I've known it. I trained with him for a little bit. He came up here right around with me in Tampa. He used to ref some of my matches and stuff like that. And I know he's better than that. He does fly off the handle, gets caught up in the motion, but he's a better kid than that, man. He's not that.
Yeah, every time he trains with us, he's always been nice, and he wasn't like this before, but now I don't know what happened.
Yeah, it's something. He kind of got to the point where he he realized he could make so much influence just playing the ham. You know what I'm talking about? He could get fights, he could get things, he could make money just talking people up and talking shit. And he kind of like grew into that character. And I think some of that character is starting to kind of spill over in who he is. He's out there training with the Diaz boys too. You know, they kind of live that fuck you life. I'll tell you though, I didn't know he lost that fight because I didn't watch the end of it. I saw 2 different clips. Now that I know he lost, maybe I'm like, fuck, dude, he lost that fight. I'd be pissed too. You know what I mean? Yeah, he didn't do a whole lot of damage, but from what I saw, he clearly controlled the whole fucking fight.
No, he had mount position, and then he got back control, which I thought he would already finish the guy, but the guy got out, then stood up. Then that was it.
He has no stand up. Everything he does from the stand up is he either gets lucky because someone's worried about a takedown, or he's just using it to set up a takedown. Like his punches were just like you can see him coming from like 3 miles away. He does the classic just run around in circles just like he did when he fought. And then when people come to that one spot, he shoots his single leg. You know what I mean? All he's doing is waiting for somebody to throw a punch so he can shoot on him. So, like, if you can avoid that, you can do what the other guy does. That's the classic conversation. Anyway, whatever. I'm not going to.
I mean, but it's weird because that style seems really like appropriate for MMA. Like, if your submissions, like, if you have trouble like getting the submission, but you're positionally able to get into like good points of control, like in MMA, you start throwing strikes. You know, when we had Joe Lozon on, he's like, if I get in the guard in MMA. I'm not looking to pass closed guard. I'll just start punching somebody, you know, because that you can punch people. Yeah. So yeah. I think that he's, I don't know. It's by the way, because Jitsu offering the correction, Florida man. you gotta shout out. That's such a good page, man.
Florida man. That's great, dude. That's great, man.
I mean, that's just appropriate. All right, we're coming up on time, so I figured we'd cover one quick story. It's a bit of an old one, but it's a really big story for the site. The JJT founder, Kitt Canaria, promoted to black belt.
Nice.
Good work.
Yeah, I thought since like the dates lined up almost so well that I figured it'd be cool to sort of take a look back as our boss. Yeah, it's been fast.
Because, I just wanted because 6 months we're stuck in we're in quarantine for 6 months.
Right.
Yeah, so I was just gonna say, like, how's this time at black belt felt for you?
This time, like 2 years ago.
Yeah,
it was amazing. Like I was kind of expecting it, but I was like, okay, is it going to be today? Because I've been training with Homo for like how many years? Let's say 9 years. So I was like, okay, probably 9 years because now it's 2020. But back then is maybe I was training with him for 8 years. So it's like, maybe I think it's time for me. I'm a brown belt, 4 stripes. So it's kind of like, okay, maybe he's gonna give it to me. And it was like everybody was there. My son was there. Like everybody was expecting me to get the black belt, and it was like it was pretty good feeling because the gym helped me a lot. When I started doing jiu-jitsu, when I started jiu-jitsu and then I started competing, I quit my job and quit school just to focus on competing, right? So it's like I quit job, quit school, just focus on competing. But I didn't quit. Like I still do like the eBay, Amazon. That's how I make money. And website. I build websites, so that's how I make money. But I actually quit school and my part-time job just to train jiu-jitsu. Then GB Nordrich helped me, like, okay, we can help you. You can build our website and do all the stuff for us, so you don't have to pay the fees, a monthly fee. Then they helped me with all of that. And then one day I was like so broke that I gotta tell them, like, you gotta give me more jobs because I need to pay my phone bill. They say, okay, we're gonna give you more jobs so you can just pay your phone bill and stuff like that. So it's really nice for me, like, to get a black belt from Homulo, because he helped me so much when I started jiu-jitsu, like starting competing and all the stuff. So I'm very thankful that I got my black belt from Homulo and from the gym.
Dang.
That's cool, man. That's pretty cool to get your black belt from Homulo too, man. Like that's an impressive.
Yeah, they helped me a lot when I started jiu-jitsu.
Dude, I remember getting my black belt, and it was just it was the coolest. It's just the most accomplished feeling you ever get in your life. And it's weird because like when you get your black belt, there's always that thing of like you don't really believe it. You're like, I'm not really a black, and you're like, dude, I don't know, is this cool? And like, you're like, no, you just get it. Like, and that's where my professors are like, no, you're not a black belt because you think you're a black belt. You're a black belt because I think you're a black belt. So now just go be a black belt. You know, Tyler, that's kind of cool shit. You know. Anyway.
Yeah, that was a pretty good feeling.
Yeah, well, I figured it would be cool to say, just because I don't know if we'll get you again for the actual anniversary, but happy 2 years at black belt, bud. That's something to be celebrated.
It's gonna be this year, huh? Yeah. So it's so fast because of this lockdown. It's like, man, he barely train. I do train, not train, but like we do drills at home, but it's different. It's not the same as you train every day, going hard rounds. Like it's not the same.
Just being in the room with everybody and stuff.
Yeah.
I got a question for you, man. Let's see if you can help me with this. So, like, I noticed that, like, what I've heard too about when you get your black belt, like, there's a part of you that you don't have as much concern, because when you're a brown belt, your purple belt, everything is about their stress. It's about, oh man, I have to get that brown belt. What do I got to do for my instructor to see me so I get my purple belt or my black belt? Like when you get your black belt, there's nothing else really to work for. So there's this feeling of like you're just doing jiu-jitsu not to get the next belt, but because you legitimately just love jiu-jitsu and want to get better at it,
Yeah, it's a different feeling. It's different from being blue belt. Blue belt, you kind of have to prove yourself. You got to go hard. Like right now, you are good enough to just if you're there, if you're going there tired, you are good enough to defend yourself and be at a good position if you want to rest. And I'm a black belt. Okay, I'm gonna just choose the purple belt, blue belt. right. Yeah, you have the right to choose whoever you want to go.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want to do, right? Exactly.
I just get rest round tattooed on my forehead.
No, but the thing is, like, right now you are already good enough to know, like, okay, I can defend myself in any position, because if I want to rest, okay, I'm gonna just go in this position, rest for a bit, then go again. Not like when you don't have those techniques, then you are like, every time you go in class, you're like, fuck this guy again. Man, this guy again. Right now you're like, okay, you go with this guy. Okay, I'm going to go do this technique. If I'm tired, I'm going to go here and then rest for a little bit and then go again. So you are more relaxed because you know more, not because, I know what you're saying, but for me, because I know more now, like I know a lot more, so I feel much better.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. That is cool, because you're exactly right. Like as a black belt, like literally, like we could not train for 4 months and literally walk into any jiu-jitsu room in the world and be able to do a couple 3, 4, 5 minute rounds with random people, just because we know where to go. I know I'm gonna be cool here. I might not win this position, but you know what I mean. I know I'm gonna be all right, and I can just chill here, take a couple of deep breaths.
Yeah,
And, I'm enjoying the flow of things and shit.
Get a position, get a guard,
Right.
get on your best guard, rest for a little bit, and
then wait
go
for the other guy to do something stupid and just it's awesome. Now I'm on top of you. We're good. Game over. Now I'm just gonna chill here.
You're just like, just gonna
well,
sit
not
here.
like that. Well, not really like that because on our gym, like it's really hard. Every day is a hard training. You don't go there like okay, but you gotta just sometimes if you're really tired, you gotta choose. Okay, I'm gonna go with lighter. Like I'm light. I'm like yeah. Like I used to compete on rooster weight, so if I'm really tired, then I'm gonna pick a lighter person to go with. And right now, I don't really choose like the heaviest guys anymore. When I was a blue belt, purple belt, okay, I don't care if you're 200 pounds, I'll go with you. Right now, okay, if you're 200 pounds, okay, let's go maybe when I'm okay, and then I'm gonna go with the light guy first, and then we're gonna go.
You also as a black belt now, if you start getting those hours under your belt, like you understand what it's like to deal with life sucking too. Like you've been in so many shitty situations. You've already, I'm sure you've already had another period where you're off for a while, and then you got to come back and you're out of shape. So there's nothing like being in a position where normal mortals would want to just die. You can just kind of figure out a way to be like, oh my God, I hate myself for being out of shape, but I'm doing this to get back into shape so I can kind of hang with it and stuff, you know? Yeah. Anyway.
Oh man. Well, I think that about does it for me. Kev, you got any other questions for our
I'm
fearless
good,
leader?
man. I just want to thank Kitt personally very much for doing things that you do, man, because like I believe that like for whatever coolness has come from my life, a large portion of that has come from the fact of you giving me a platform to be able to speak my mind and do the things I want to do. So I want to thank you for putting things together like this, man.
I want to thank you guys. I want to thank you guys because without you guys, there's no Jiu-Jitsu Times. Like, yeah, I built it, but everybody who's with me with it is all of us. It's not just me. It's everybody. So thank you guys for building Jiu-Jitsu Times.
Yeah, man. You're good, bro. I appreciate it.
Well, I mean, I got to thank you as well. You know, thanks to you and Avery, I got the chance to use what I learned and what I wanted to do in journalism, and I combine it with my passion for the martial arts, and it's really fulfilling. You know, every day I get to put out a story or record a podcast episode. Kev G is it's the best, you know, and I appreciate you letting me hijack your website and your YouTube channel in order to do all this fun and zany stuff, you know, with my friends. And it's been the best, man. Thank you so much.
SoundCloud is getting better too.
Yeah, hell yeah. Follow it. If you're only here on YouTube, we also have these episodes recorded on SoundCloud and iTunes podcasts, Spotify, you name it, we're there.
I think so. We are on every platform.
We got pretty big this podcast. We got pretty freaking big, bro.
It's only getting bigger. It's only going to get bigger, bro.
Obviously riding off the coattails.
I already started the Facebook page for this. I already dedicated a Facebook page for this, and it's not just a small Facebook page; it's a huge Facebook page.
All right, man.
I showed Kevin the page, right? So it's going to be it's going to be specific for this podcast.
Oh, that's awesome.
So just to start like getting some last minute announcements for our like hardcores that are still here. We're going to be starting to potentially stream and post more of these episodes onto Facebook Live and Facebook. Our archives are going to be there. We're going to be starting to do a lot more fan outreach to you guys through that page. And we're going to be starting to be more present on different social medias. Once again, thank you, Kitt, for coming on and talking about some of the origins of the JJT and, you know, where we're headed, some of the big, exciting stuff we've got coming down the pipe. Is there anything else you wanted to link and plug here at the outset?
Thank you to No Judges Needed.
My man.
Shout out. Sponsored.
A&P Everyday Pujada and GB Northridge.
Thank you every day.
Cool, real cool to talk to you, Kitt, man. Thanks for coming on. I apologize if I talk too much. I was a little
No.
greedy today. It's been a long day,
It's
man.
good you talk too much because I don't talk too much.
Hey, it's all Zen, baby.
But when you speak, it's important, Kitt. The gravity of your word rests in the infrequency of it, I guess, or some shit like that.
Evens out. So I was like, man, Kevin needs to talk a lot because I'm not going to be talking a lot.
Well, good. See, I feel happy then. So
I think the old saying is speak softly and go for the single leg. You know, so
I like that.
I'm pretty sure that's what it means. But all right, this has been episode 50. You've been with us for 50 episodes. Here's to the next 50. We'll see you at 100 episodes. 10 million episodes, 57 billion episodes. That's how long
right.
we're going to be here, baby.
Forever and ever.
All right.
We're
And
not
for,
gonna go away.
for these past 50 episodes and all those stretching out into infinity, I am your host, Kevin Bradley, joined as always by my co-host, Mr. Kevin Gallagher, and our boss, Kitt Canaria. We love you. We appreciate you. And we'll see you next time. Good night.